My name is Amelia. I'm 40 years old. I've been married to my husband, Liam, same age as me and once my colleague, for 10 years. We're in different branches now, but we used to sit a few desks apart. He's the type who carries the weight of a room, responsible, admired by his team, a little showy, determined never to reveal weakness. Confident, ambitious, always chasing the next milestone. His bosses rate him highly and expect him to rise without trouble. I'm the opposite, quiet, low-key, someone who blends into the background. Given our different temperaments, I was honestly shocked when he pursued me so intently. After 2 years of dating, he proposed with a huge bouquet of roses. I had never been loved that openly by any man, so I said yes on the spot. Certain wonderful days were ahead. What awaited me instead was living with my in-laws. There'd been no discussion, so I tried to refuse, but Liam insisted. My parents are good people, it will be fine, he said, describing how excited they were to welcome me. I gave in. For the last 10 years I've lived in his family home, an arrangement I could never have imagined on my wedding day. Amelia, you forgot to sweep the front step again, didn't you? My mother-in-law's daily nag began the very second I set down the breakfast tray. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry, do it. Now. Even though I had work to get to, I was treated like a servant from dawn. Since moving in I've been forced to wake at 5 a.m. to cook and clean. Despite being at home all day, my mother-in-law refuses to lift a finger. I race through chores, rush to my job, and start dinner as soon as I return. By bedtime I drop like a stone. It never ends. I often feel unwell, I'm sure it's stress. I don't want the neighbors to think we're sloppy, so make sure you clean properly, she calls from the living room, eating the breakfast I made. You'll be late if you don't finish soon. Liam never defends me. My father-in-law hides behind his newspaper. Under that roof I endured constant mistreatment. I lost weight rapidly and looked unwell. You're too skinny and unattractive, that's why you can't have a child, she'd say. My period stopped entirely, and still I was blamed. Before marriage I was health conscious and took care with my appearance, now I barely recognized the woman in the mirror. The relentless harassment hollowed me out. I became submissive, apathetic, some days I didn't want to step outside at all. Then came devastating news, my father died suddenly in an accident. I hadn't visited in a long time, every time I brought it up, Liam and his mother belittled me. When the call came, regret suffocated me. My family home is only an hour's drive, so I asked them to attend the funeral. There's going to be a funeral for my father, we're not going, they cut in. Let your family handle it. The cruelty of it made my shoulders shake with anger and grief, but all I could reply was, understood. Many people came to my father's funeral. He was self-employed and well-connected, the tears in that room showed how loved he was. Amelia, what happened to you? You've lost so much weight, my mother said, shocked. Just a bit, I murmured. You're not sick, are you? I can't bear to lose you too, she cried, fragile in her own grief. I'm not sick. Don't worry, I soothed, then slipped to the waiting room. If I wasn't ill, then what was wrong? I thought of Liam and his mother, how even when I told them my father had died, they gave me no comfort. Anger bubbled up. I told my mother everything. It's like bullying, I said, staring at my hands. I'm exhausted. Her face tightened with worry. I'm relieved you're not ill, but this is no better. Is that why you stopped visiting? I nodded. She pressed a document into my hands. Read this, then decide what to do. It was my father's will, meticulous, like he'd always been. He'd left an inheritance. $2 million, it said. Use it as you see fit. The sum stunned me, and hope flickered. I could build a house and leave my in-laws immediately. Maybe my life was about to brighten. Back at the house I did the usual chores, on days I had plans, the mess piled higher because no one else cleaned. As I scrubbed, I thought about the inheritance. In spite of everything, I still wanted to stay with Liam. I decided to be honest about the money and suggest we move out. Can we talk? I asked after his parents went to bed. About my father. I received an inheritance. Oh? How much? 2 million. Liam blinked. Wait, what? When it sank in, he lit up. He left you that much? Generous. I drew a breath to propose the move, but he cut in. We should transfer it to my mom's account right away. I stared at him, thinking he was joking. No. It was left to me. He slammed the table. What are you talking about? A wife's money belongs to her mother-in-law. His seriousness scared me. I don't understand what you're saying, I said, trying to explain my idea for our own home, but he wouldn't hear it. He wanted all of it for his mother. I barely slept from the shock. Next morning, as I was making breakfast, Liam and his mother approached with hard faces. I heard about the 2 million, she said. And you refused to give it to me? Who do you think you are? I'm the one who inherited it. Stop arguing and transfer it to our account. A daughter-in-law's money is our money. No matter how I refused, they pressed harder. Finally, Liam thrust a paper at me. You're getting carried away because you came into money. I'm the one who supports you. Change your attitude or it's divorce. His portion of the form was already filled in. Take this and go back to your parents. If you apologize properly, I might reconsider. I stared at the form, memories flashing by. I had never been supported in that house. I paid the same living expenses as Liam and did all the housework alone. They'd looked down on me from the start, and now they meant to steal my father's money. If I stayed, maybe I'd cave under pressure. But this money was my father's last gift to me. Being told to go home felt like a door opening. Holding the signed papers, I realized my future was in my hands. I decided I would never give them the inheritance. That evening I returned to my mother's. I'm home. Welcome, she said, as if she'd been waiting at the window. Her cooking was already on the table. The first bite sent tears spilling over. It was warm and made with care. Did you tell Liam? Yes, it caused a scene. I told her everything. She listened, speechless. The inheritance is yours, she said at last. You decide your future. I cried while she stroked my hair. After a week of rest, I went back to the in-laws' house. Back already? Have you reflected? Liam and his mother stood with arms crossed. Yes. I'm sorry. Please let me live here again, I said carefully. My mother-in-law grinned. Then hand over the inheritance. The process is complicated. I haven't received it yet. Maybe 6 more months. That long? Fine, they said, satisfied, believing I'd be obedient. They still scolded me for visiting my mother. You're neglecting your duties. The house is a mess, clean it. A single week had left the place filthy. Understood, I said. The old me would have wilted, now I noted it calmly and did what needed doing, saving my strength. Soon it was my mother-in-law's birthday. I'll be gone for a few days, keep the house spotless. She always traveled for her birthday, I was never invited. Have you received the inheritance yet? It's supposed to arrive today. Perfect. Consider the 2 million my present. Transfer it to my account before we're back. I smiled and waved them off. The moment they left, I executed my plan. I packed everything and walked out. Wow, this is amazing. I said it out loud, standing in the living room of my new house, the house I built with my father's inheritance. I'd invited my mother to live with me. We celebrated with a private chef and a quiet toast. The next evening Liam called. What the hell is going on? He must have found my room empty. I won't be coming back. Goodbye, I said, and his mother started screaming into the receiver from behind him. Where are you? You didn't transfer the money. How many times do I have to tell you, a daughter-in-law's money is mine? I'm single, I replied. Silence. Single? I filed the divorce papers you gave me. We're strangers now. Goodbye. I hung up, laughing softly at the image of their stunned faces. Relief washed through me. They bombarded me with calls. When I had time, I picked up, recorded the abuse, and took it to the police. Harassment from ex-family is common, the officer said. We'll issue a warning. The visit alone dented their precious public image, and a neighbor, one of Liam's subordinates, saw it. Rumors spread quickly at his workplace, especially among those who disliked him. Word reached my old department too. Did you hear the police went to his house? Someone asked. I'm divorced now, so I don't really know, I said, loud enough to carry. Gossip did the rest. Before long his boss called him in. Bad rumors, Liam. I don't tolerate men who don't cherish their wives. This hurts our reputation. You're being transferred. It was to the worst performing regional branch, a landlocked island with no entertainment, no prospects. Everything he'd built collapsed, promotion vanished. He had to go. My ex-mother-in-law, shocked by her son's fall and my absence, became reclusive. Depression followed, then possible dementia. My ex-father-in-law now cares for her, and perhaps he finally understands that a daughter-in-law is still family. What happened to them was simply the consequence of years of cruelty. As for me, I live peacefully with my mother. We started a garden in our big yard. If I'd stayed there, I never would have discovered this joy. My body has healed from stress, my mind is clear. I'm grateful I cut those ties. I'm sorry, those words were the first that left my mouth as I ran into the treatment room. The doctors, the nurses, and my husband all looked up at me. There was a beat of silence. When my eyes found his, relief flickered. He was alive, not in immediate danger. The next moment, everything unraveled. My name is Emma. I'm 30 and a nurse. My husband, James, is 2 years older and a government employee. I was drawn to his seriousness, the opposite of the careless boyfriends I'd had in the past. Maybe it's my nature or my profession, but I find it easy to care for others, even to a fault, helping boyfriends, lending them money. I knew I shouldn't, but I did whenever I was asked. Many nurses I know are like that. Relationships are our favorite cautionary topic. Then came a turning point. I met James at a group date with fellow nurses. He was quiet, earnest, the sort I'd never dated, and I liked him immediately. Too serious, the others said. No rivals. We exchanged numbers, I asked him out, and we dated for 3 years without fights or betrayal. When he proposed, I said yes. James didn't have much dating experience. He preferred reading and gaming at home. He rarely went out, but he was a talker. Books give you plenty to discuss. We started gaming together online. He said dating me got him out of the house more, and with company he could enjoy it. His parents live 2 hours away. They're kind people, and because James is the youngest of 3 and his parents are elderly, we don't visit often. After the wedding and New Year's greetings, we mostly kept in touch by gifts and the occasional call. My night shifts rarely aligned. When our days off matched, James and I went out. At home we split chores. It felt solid. About 3 months ago something changed. I came home to find him asleep on the sofa, a beer can on the table. You'll catch a cold, I said. He blinked awake. Online drinking with my gaming buddies. I overdid it. I didn't mind, he sounded happy, but the incident stacked up. Then I noticed his hair. What's with your hair? He'd dyed it brown, styled in a way he'd never tried. Is that okay for your job? Government regulations are strict. What's wrong with enjoying how I look while I'm young? He asked. He'd never been fashion-forward, the suddenness felt off. I forced a neutral, it's different. Days later he got his ears pierced. Midlife crisis? I wondered, but said nothing. What's going on with you lately? I finally asked. Nothing, he said, and went to bed. Soon he added, Dad's been unwell. I'll visit on weekends. I agreed, his father is older, of course he should go. He began leaving every weekend. I cooked for him and texted between rounds at work, but he rarely replied. Just when I resolved to insist on a talk, the police called the hospital, asking for me. "Your husband's been in an accident," they said. My heart lurched. "Is he okay?" "Not life-threatening," they'd heard. He was being brought to our hospital. I rushed to the emergency ward. "I'm here for my husband," I told the nurse. In the treatment room, everyone glanced up. When I found him, I breathed a little. He was conscious, though hurt. "Severe leg injury," the nurse explained. "We have to cut the pants." James saw me and shouted, "Emma, don't look. I'm a nurse, I know it's standard to cut clothing when necessary." "Still," he shouted, "get out." I froze, baffled. The staff continued, "Time matters." My gaze snagged on something unexpected, ink on his inner thigh. A tattoo. The injured leg was left, the tattoo was on the right. Uninjured, visible. It was a name. A woman's name. Sophia, I read. I stepped out, stomach cold. A coworker told me he hadn't arrived alone, a woman his age had been transported with him from the same accident. They looked like a couple. Her name? Sophia. Brown hair, pierced ears, and she had a matching inner thigh tattoo of his name. My skin prickled. I called his parents. "Is James okay?" my father-in-law asked, worried. "He's injured, but stable," I said, then asked, "By the way, how are you feeling?" "Me? Fine," he said, genuinely confused. My breath left me. So the weekend trips weren't to see his father. After my shift I went home and checked James's things. The evidence was all there, photos with the woman, hotel receipts, a booking for a romantic resort. The timeline fit, they must have crashed on the way back. No one else was injured, neither was in critical condition, but his leg would be slow to heal. I should have been worried, but the betrayal burned hotter than concern. The hair dye, the piercings, her influence, maybe. I asked a colleague to recommend a divorce lawyer. The next day I brought a bag of clothes to his room. He'd hit his head and was foggy, claiming not to remember the treatment room. I didn't press him. I went to work, then to the lawyer. "You have enough to sue," he said. I just wanted out. I found a new place immediately and moved. The only things left in the apartment were James's. I decided to wait for discharge to confront him. A scene while he was in my hospital would be a mess. When I collected him on discharge day, I drove to a family restaurant. My lawyer was waiting in a booth. James sat carefully, leg aching, and I slid the divorce papers across the table. "What is this?" he shouted. "You cheated," I said. "You crashed after a romantic trip. I found everything, photos, receipts. You even lied about your father's health to cover it." His face drained. "Sophia is already discharged," I added. "She's fine. Also, of all hospitals, you brought her to mine." He stared, stricken. "You'll compensate me for the distress," I said, pushing a pen toward him. He didn't take it. "Is it only your leg that's injured, or did your hand stop working too?" I asked, and he finally picked it up, but still hesitated. Afraid to start over? Was this all a game? His silence was answer enough. "I can't stay married to a man with his mistress's name tattooed on his body," I said. He flinched. "What are you talking about? You really don't remember?" "I was there in the ER. You yelled at me not to look. I saw the tattoo." I shook my head. "At least wait until you're divorced before you ink her name." I actually ran into Sophia in the hospital corridor later. She asked for the gift shop. "Just around the corner," I said, then added, "Sophia, right? I'm James's wife." She checked my nameplate, turned chalk-white, and speed-limped away. "Please don't run in the hospital," I called after her. Back at the restaurant, James muttered something about not like that, but I was done. The lawyer nodded. I left James there with the papers. "I've moved out," I said. Call a cab. He looked pathetic, mouth open, but he'd earned it. The divorce went through quickly. I received alimony. James went broke. Worse for him, it turned out Sophia was married to a colleague of his. Her husband and James had unknowingly been gaming buddies online. When the truth surfaced, Sophia's husband demanded damages as well. James quit his job under a cloud of rumor. My former in-laws contacted me, angry, then apologized once I laid out the facts. We won't let James hurt you again, they promised. The story spread at work. My nurse friends laughed darkly at the predictability of it all. I live alone now, finally free to do what I want. Help me, sis. My niece, Henry, was near tears as she handed me a photograph, my brother, her father, smiling with colleagues at a bar. What's wrong? Why the panic? I asked, but my sister-in-law's stern voice cut in. There you are, Henry. Come, she said, whisking her away. Left alone, I flipped the photo. On the back, in my brother's blocky handwriting, if anything happens to me, please protect my daughter. I'm Mia, 32, and I work in the office of our family construction company. My brother, Jake, 10 years older, had always worked hard, bearing everyone's expectations as the heir. But after high school he and our father clashed over management. I love carpentry, he always said, but I don't want to inherit the business. Then he introduced Luna, outgoing and quick to bond with us, though she never moved in. I'm getting married and leaving, he said, ruffling my hair. He kept his promise, set up his own household, and we kept in touch. Luna's dinners are amazing, he'd brag. She's a dietitian, always mindful of my high blood pressure. I teased him for repeating the story. They had Henry a few years later, and the three of them looked happy whenever we met. When Henry turned 10, the family talked about mending fences with our father. Maybe we could laugh together again. Then the phone rang at work. It was Luna, rare, since Jake usually called. Calm down and listen, she said. Jake fell from the scaffolding at work. He slipped in the rain. He's in the hospital. Time stopped. I called my parents, we rushed through the downpour. In the room, Jake lay pale. When the reality hit, I sagged to the floor. Luna wailed like the heroine of a tragedy, so loudly I bit back my own sobs and just stared. Henry stood beside her, looking down, not crying, but trembling, as if bracing for something worse. Henry, are you okay? No reply. After the wake at our home, while relatives murmured prayers, I stepped out to the porch and quietly cried. In the memorial photo he looked a little worn but peaceful. Had he been happy? I pictured Henry. He loved taking her to zoos and amusement parks. She must be devastated. Sis, she whispered. Her eyes were wet. What's wrong? I asked, wiping my face. Help me. I think I might be next, she said, handing me a brown envelope. Dad said, if anything happens, give this to Mia. Before I could respond, a cold voice came from behind. What are you doing? Luna stood there, stern. I've been looking for you. She grabbed Henry's arm and swept her away. Luna had always been warm, now she was a stranger. Inside the envelope was a simple photo, Jake with colleagues, like at a mixer. On the back, if anything happens to me, protect my daughter. The message chilled me. I called a friend who's a police officer. We met the next morning, rare free day before the cremation, because the crematorium was closed. I explained everything. From a cop's perspective, this isn't enough, he said gently. But call me anytime. I kept studying the photo. No caption, just faces. Then an idea, Jake's belongings. I went to Luna's house. Sorry to intrude, I said. I'm worried about you and Henry. Thanks for coming, she said coolly. Henry's resting, best to leave her be. The house was tidy, but strangely barren, no trace of Jake, not even the family photo I'd seen last visit. Luna served tea and homemade pickles. On her wrist, a light purple beaded bracelet, rosary-like. It didn't match her usual style, or Jake's. I took a bite. Wow, so salty. Really? I don't think so, she said. But Jake had high blood pressure. Why serve him heavily salted food? I'd like to talk to Henry, I said, standing. No, she snapped, pushing me toward the door. I'm busy with the funeral. Outside, I stared up at the sky, trying to think. Henry's face appeared at the second-floor window. She pressed a finger to her lips and tossed down a tiny key wrapped in a note, key to the shed. Hide it under the potted plant after. I gave her a thumbs up. In the backyard shed, I found Jake's things, and a diary. He'd always kept one. Inside, the food's gotten too salty. When I point it out, she says, I'm a dietitian, leave it to me. I don't feel well lately. Another entry explained the photo. It was evidence, someone in it wore a distinctive bracelet. I won't forgive this, he'd written. At the funeral the next day, as Luna stepped up to give the eulogy, I stood. I need everyone to hear this, I said. Jake's death wasn't an accident. The room erupted. Luna glared. What are you talking about? He slipped in the rain, she snapped. I held up the diary. Your cooking changed. You started serving salty food to a man with high blood pressure, insisting he finish it all. His health declined. I don't know anything about that, she said. I lifted the photo. And this, look closely. This person here wears a bracelet that matches yours. Heads turned. Mr. William, I said, pointing to a familiar face, Jake's longtime colleague. You and Luna were having an affair, weren't you? Gasps. Luna's eyes fired daggers. Mr. William went pale, wiping sweat from his brow, revealing the same light purple bracelet. Jake trusted you, I said, voice shaking. He suspected you both and feared for his life. That's why he left me this. A diary and a bracelet aren't proof of murder, Luna snapped. There's more, I said. Jake saw your emails, Luna. Jake is in the way. Let's get rid of him, you wrote. Lies, she choked. Easily checked, I replied. First you tried to worsen his blood pressure with food. When that was too slow, you pushed for a work accident. Rain was forecast. Work should have stopped, but it didn't. Mr. William, you pressed to continue, didn't you? He nodded weakly. We had a deadline, he whispered. She said, don't you dare, Luna hissed. He bowed to Henry. I was led astray. I'm so sorry. You'll show those emails to the police, right? I asked. He handed over his phone. A police friend who'd attended quietly stepped forward and placed both Luna and William under arrest. Relief washed over the room like air after a storm. Later, both received long sentences. With an attorney's help, Henry received $100,000 from a victims' compensation program and, after a hard stretch, began smiling again. I adopted her. I'll pour into her all the love my brother would have. I'm Eliana, nearly 32, married to Lucas for 4 years, living with my in-laws who run a restaurant. Lucas works elsewhere, and I quit my job to help the family business. In reality, I ran it, from pre-dawn supply runs to prep to service late into the night. Exhaustion became my baseline, but my in-laws never let me rest. Even regulars worried about me. My younger brother, James, announced he was marrying his longtime girlfriend, Sarah. They're young but mature, my parents adore her. I was thrilled like it was my own wedding. The date was set, and I needed 3 days off. Since I was technically an employee, I asked for paid leave. Can we talk? I said after closing, when we were all home. Lucas had just come in. I need 3 days off in 2 months for my brother's wedding. You think you can take time off? My mother-in-law snapped. I mustered courage. I haven't used any paid leave. So you want time off and pay? She sneered. Let her take it, Lucas said suddenly, calming his mother. He shot her a grin. She relented, too easily. I was confused but relieved. The day before the wedding I left early while everyone slept, leaving a note. My parents' home is an hour away. Walking through the door after 4 years felt like stepping into warm light. We talked for hours, and the next day the ceremony was so lovely it moved me to tears. The morning after, I wanted to stay one more day. I knew they wouldn't like it, but I tried calling anyway. "When are you coming back?" my mother-in-law snapped. "Could I stay one more day?" I asked. A long, heavy silence. Then a laugh. "You only think about yourself. Don't come back at all." "What? Why don't you just divorce Lucas? We don't need a useless daughter-in-law, and apparently Lucas doesn't need you either." She hung up. Shaking, I called Lucas. "Your mother said you don't need me anymore." He sighed. "I didn't want to say this now, but I want to break up, Eliana." "Why?" "There's someone else I like." The words split the air. He hung up. I stood there, phone in my hand, too stunned to cry. When I turned, my mother was watching, worried. I forced a smile. She said nothing more, sensing I needed time. I spent the day clinging to the joy around me, laughing too brightly. James and Sarah noticed. "You're forcing it," he said gently. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I lied. My phone rang again, my mother-in-law. I answered at the table. My parents could hear her even at the lowest volume. "So Lucas is divorcing you?" "Hilarious," she cackled. "He was cheating on you and you didn't even notice." "We'll send the papers and your things. Don't come back." She hung up. Something inside me cracked. Tears spilled. My father's voice was low and steady. "What happened?" My mother pressed a handkerchief into my hand. The scent tipped me over into sobs. When I could speak, my mother told me she'd been worried for years. She'd phoned the restaurant, asked friends to check in as customers, heard the whispers of how I was treated. She and my father had nearly come to take me home but waited for me to ask. My sister-in-law, Sarah, flushed with anger. "You don't need to go back," she said. "We'll get alimony and end it." "And make sure they understand what they did," James added. They left in a purposeful whirl. My parents opened their arms. "Stay," they said. A few days later an envelope arrived, divorce papers signed by Lucas. I signed and filed them. I was officially single. The next month, while I job hunted, Lucas called, furious. "What did you do? Since the divorce, not a single customer's come to our restaurant. Suppliers are canceling contracts. This is your fault." I had done nothing. He threatened to come over with his parents. I told my mother. She calmly made a call and put on tea. They arrived bristling. My mother welcomed them into the living room. A charged silence stretched, then the front door opened. James and Sarah stepped in, faces set. "Sorry to keep you," James said, laying a thick envelope on the table. "Lucas, you've been having an affair." Lucas's eyes bulged. James continued, "We have evidence, and testimony from the woman. We'll be seeking damages for adultery committed during the marriage." "We're already divorced," Lucas scoffed. "Damages still apply," James said mildly. He placed photos and reports on the table. Then Sarah spoke, smiling. "I'm Sarah Brown. My father owns the Brown Steiner Restaurant Group." My father-in-law blanched. "Why didn't you tell us?" "Why would she?" I said. Sarah went on, "Eliana kept this business afloat, suppliers worked with you because of her. When she stopped coming in, regulars stopped too. My father decided to end support across our network. Without Eliana, there's no reason for suppliers to stay." My mother-in-law sat down hard. Lucas sputtered and lunged, but James stepped between us. "Enough." He handed Lucas a card. "He's a lawyer at a well-known firm." Lucas deflated. "We're done here," my mother said, ushering them out. Later I heard the restaurant closed almost immediately. Lucas's affair became public at work, he resigned in disgrace. They moved away, rumors say life is hard. I received alimony from both Lucas and his partner. I tried to give it to James and my parents in thanks, they refused until I insisted. I found a new job and live happily with my parents now. I owe everything to my family. It may take time, but I'll repay them, in care, in presence, in peace.